Okay, we're going to find surface area of various figures now. Remember, we were doing volume. Volume, remember, was always the same. I said always make 3 lines. You find the area of the base and you multiply it by the height. It was pretty simple to do. Surface area requires a little bit more effort. So let's start with our rectangular prism. Remember, surface area is about covering the surface, so the outer side, all the sides of the figure. Volume was about filling the inside with cubes. Surface area is on the outside, so like wrapping something or painting something. The first thing you need to do is think about unraveling this shape and thinking about how many different parts there are to it. If you look at it, there's a front and a back. There's a right side and a left side, and then there's a top and a bottom. So there's 6 parts to it. So when you figure this out, it's pretty simple to do. You'll have 2 rectangles, and remember, like rectangle area is length times width. You have 2 rectangles that are something times something, plus 2 rectangles that are something times something, plus 2 rectangles that are something times something. So let's see what we have. We have a front and a back. Can you see that the front is 4 by 21? And there's 2 of them, front and a back. There's 2 that have a left side and a right side. So we have our left side right here and we have our right side right here. And can you see that they're the same and they're both 4 by 34? And again, there's a 2 because there's a right side and left side. And there's 2 rectangles that are on the top and the bottom, and both of those are 21 by 34. So you're finding the area of all of the pieces and adding them together, and that would be surface area. So I'll take you through it. Looks like this: 2 sides front and back, 2 sides right and left, 2 sides top and bottom. Doesn't matter which one you do first. You get 1,868 centimeters squared, because we're not talking about volume. Volume is cubes. Surface area, it goes back to squaring our units. And that's it. Your rectangular prisms are pretty easy to do. So we do the same thing with this one. We have 2 front and back. We have 2 sides, top and bottom, you could say, plus 2 that are right and left. Oops, it's a multiplication sign, hello. So look at it. So here's an 8 by 5, and the other side would be 8 by 5. Then you have the bottom that's 5 by 14 and the top that's 5 by 14. And then you have this front right here that's 8 by 14, and then the back that's 8 by 14. Now, there's another way to do it easily. If you can remember that you have 6 parts, and it's set up like this, like I did in the other one. You don't even need the picture. If it told you it's an 8 by 5 by 14 figure, all I have to do is all the combinations. So there's 1 8 by 5. There's 1 8 by 14 combination. Sorry, there's 2 sides. And there's 2 sides that are 5 by 14. See, I didn't even need to look at the picture. I just needed the numbers and do the combinations. It's really simple. And then you figure it out, which was 444 inches squared. So process that. Okay, this one looks a little different. So identify the shape first. Right, it's a triangular prism. So think about how many parts you have. You have 2 triangles, plus you have 3 rectangles. Can you see that? So if you can identify the pieces, then you should be able to do this. Okay. If you notice the 2 triangles, they're exactly the same. So remember the formula for a triangle is base times height divided by 2, okay? We have 2 of them, so we're going to talk about doing something. So first you need to find the base and the height. How do you know you found base and height? When you find that 90-degree angle, it connects your base with your height. So here's your base and here's your height. Don't make a mistake with that. So the 2 numbers I'm going to use for the triangle are 12 and 16, because here's the other 90-degree angle right there. So it's 12 and 16. So I have 2 triangles that are 12 by 16 divided by 2. Plus, now let's look at our rectangles. Get some type of a pattern. So let's start with the bottom. Can you see that the bottom is a 20 by 3? Plus, can you see that the top right here, ramp, is 16 by 3? Plus, what's the dimensions of the back? Can you see that it's 12 and that this side right here would be the same as this one right here? So it's 12 by 3, like that. And then you'll figure that out. Now, if you look at this, can't you cross cancel those right there? So it really just becomes base times height. So it's 12 times 16 plus 20 times 3 plus 16 times 3 plus 12 times 3. So when you put it in your calculator, just put it in at one full swoop. So 12 times 16 plus 20 times 3 plus 16 times 3 plus 12 times 3. Enter. 336 meters squared. It's not that hard. You just got to be able to pull the shape apart. And for some people, that's kind of hard to do because it requires a different part of your brain. But really look at it and it will make sense. Okay, so we could try it again. So remember, you have 2 triangles. Look for the 90-degree angle to find your base and height, plus 3 rectangles. The one on the bottom, the one on the top, the one in the back. So first I want to find my base and the height. Here's that 90-degree angle. Here's your base. This is your height, which happens to be 4. So I have 2 times 3 by 4 divided by 2, which we know we can cancel these 2's, plus the rectangle on the bottom is 5 by 7. The rectangle on the top is 7 by 4. And the rectangle in the back is 3 by 7. And then you just enter that into your calculator. Boom, 96 feet squared. It's not that hard. Just requires just a little bit more effort than doing volume. Cylinders are easy. There's just a formula. So remember, surface area is about covering this entire shape, including the top and the bottom. That means if I pulled this shape apart, I would have 2 circles plus, think about unraveling this and setting it flat. Wouldn't it be kind of like a rectangle like that? So we got to do our formulas. This one is, you have 2, remember the circle formula, area is equal to pi r squared. So you have 2 pi r squared plus, this part is 2 pi r h. I can explain that to you. Just see if you can pay attention. Remember, the distance around the circle is a circumference, okay? Circumference of a circle, if you remember, circumference is equal to pi d, right? So when I look at this formula right here, this is the same thing as circumference, because remember, diameter is twice the radius. So really, I can also say circumference is equal to 2 pi r, because twice the radius is the diameter. So right here, remember rectangle is length times width. This is actually circumference instead of the length. And your width right here, that's actually the height of your figure. That's this right here. That's That's where the formula is coming from. Now get the formula memorized. It's pretty easy to memorize, and once you start doing it over and over again, you'll get it in your head. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. That's your formula. So you got your radius, you have your height. You're just going to plug in your information. So let's walk it through. There's your formula. There's your information plugged in. And there's your answer. Remember, it's approximate because pi is irrational. 164 and 9/10 meters squared is your answer. Here we go again. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. So get that formula down in your brain. 2 pi 8 2/10 squared plus 2 pi 8 2/10 times 21. Make sure you can put it into your calculator. You can put it all in one swoop and then hit enter. Remember, you're rounding in this, you're rounding to the nearest tenth. A company packages its cereal in a rectangular prism. So remember rectangular prism. We did this. That shouldn't be there. Let's try it again. 2, and you have line length times width plus 2, another rectangle, length times width plus 2, another rectangle, length times width. And then it says it's considering packaging it in a cylinder. Well, we know a cylinder, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Usually in this formula, this is usually what I see people forget, or they forget to multiply it by 2. Remember, it's being multiplied by 2 because there's 2 circles, okay? So keep that in mind. So a company packages its cereal in a rectangular prism. That's, remember what I said, you don't need to see the picture. Just make all your different combinations. So you have 2 5/10, you have 7, and you have 12. Make your combinations. You have 2 2.5 by 7s. You have 2 2.5 by 12s. And you have 2 7 by 12s. Okay? And then here, it's telling you you have a 6-inch diameter. I don't want 6-inch diameter. I need radius. So if it's 6 inches as a diameter, remember your radius is half that. So your radius is 3. So it's going to be 2 pi 3 squared plus 2 pi 3 times, here's your height, 7.5. So you're trying to see when you're in packaging, which is a great program to go into in college, you're trying to figure out which one uses the least amount of packaging, because whatever one uses the least amount of packaging, then that will be the cheapest to actually produce. So here we go. I'll walk you through. So there's your formula, rectangular prism, information put in. Looks like it's 263 inches squared versus the cylinder that's 197 9/10 inches squared. So obviously the cylinder uses less packaging than the rectangular prism. So if you're looking to save on packaging, you would go with the cylinder on this one. And then we do it again. So to try the first option is a rectangular prism. Again, that's 2 times 6 by 4 plus 2 times 6 by 1.5 plus 2 times 4 times 1.5. I just used all the combinations. And then your 2 pi 2 squared, because here's your radius, plus 2 pi r each. And you would find out that the rectangular prism this time requires less packaging. So you would choose that one. Pretty easy.